we also got some new comments from their hosts, but from behind the scenes in a way that they never expected to be public. There's this big lawsuit that's still underway from the 2020 election. This one is from Smartmatic. They're suing Fox News for $2.7 billion after Fox aired a bunch of obviously bogus lies about whether or not the election was stolen and rigged to help Joe Biden win the presidency, therefore, denying Donald Trump the presidency that he rightly deserved, that he truly won. These are the sort of allegations that they aired. We saw the Dominion case already get wrapped up. Fox News paid $787 million, but this Smartmatic case is still going on. It's taking a long time to get its way through courts. New documents came out this week showing what these hosts were saying behind the scenes, including Jeanine Pirro, who Donald Trump, of course, now has appointed as a U.S. attorney in Washington, D.C. She was texting behind the scenes to Ronna McDaniel, who was then the Republican National Committee chair. "I work so hard for the president and the party," she writes, as if she's by the way, she's supposed to be a journalist, right? She's supposed to be
or at
hosting.
least an honest, maybe she's not a reporter, right? But when you're doing opinion journalism, which is theoretically what she's supposed to be doing, you're supposed to behave in an honest way as well. You're not supposed to be loyal to one party or another. You're supposed to call it as it is. And you're opinionated, yes, but pledging loyalty to the party, that's much more of a party spokesperson or partisan loyalist or whatever than a opinion journalist.
Right. And we also saw her really shading her other hosts on the network, which I thought was kind of surprising. She said of Sean Hannity that he's an egomaniac, which I wonder if, with the revelation of that, how many people inside Fox News headquarters were snickering about that. "He acts like he owns the place," she wrote in a text. "It's all about him, period. No one else matters."
Well, she also, this is sort of off track, but she recounts this story. She says, I guess he was going to the White House and he stormed in like he owns the place, throws his papers on the president's desks and says, "You don't mind if I use your private bathroom?" And then walks into the bathroom within the Oval and uses it. And then looks at me and says, "I got to talk to him." I mean, the fact that she's like kind of mocking him behind the scenes, even for, the thing I found hilarious about this is even for Jeanine Pirro, who, as you said, pledged loyalty to Donald Trump and the Republican Party, even for her, Sean Hannity was too much. And she was mocking basically the way his close relationship with the president.
Yeah. And like some of these comments they're kind of funny because you can see the behind the scenes view of one another. The feeling that one is just, stealing the spotlight, obsessed with himself. But at the same time, this is actually really serious and really disturbing. You do also have Jesse Waters, the primetime host, texting Greg Gutfeld, saying, "Look, if Fox's ratings would soar incredibly," he wrote, "if the network went all in on Stop the Steal." Now, this was the conspiracy theory that, which was bogus, by the way, up running after the 2020 election, that the election was being stolen away. And Donald Trump has regurgitated this same conspiracy theory and claimed repeatedly that he actually was the president of the 2020, of that election, and to deny the reality that Joe Biden was actually duly elected. And he was saying behind the scenes, if we went all in under it, all in on Stop the Steal, our ratings would be through the roof under any circumstances. I'm sorry. One of his producers, though, warned that under any circumstances, we cannot cast doubt on this because the powers that be are not having any of it. But you see this incredible dialogue behind the scenes where the TV hosts are well aware that if they feed their audience exactly what they want to hear, and in this case, it's that Trump actually won and that these sinister Democrats were actually secretly, cheating to win the election, then it truly, what that means is that Trump actually won. This stuff is incredibly damaging to our democracy when you hear this, because what you do is you immediately create a large group of people in the country who believe this stuff.
By the
Like
way,
they
by the way, John,
trust.
can you imagine if a CNN host, or let's just say MSNBC, if Rachel Maddow had texted someone like, we should have, imagine if we had gone all in on Donald Trump stealing the election, our ratings would be through the roof. Like the entire world would hear about that for years, because Fox News would never let it go. They would never let it go. That would be in banners. It'd be the top story. They'd be demanding everyone out. Why isn't the media covering it? That everyone would have to cover it. That one comment, it would be a scar or a stain on MSNBC. It would never go away. This stuff comes out, and yes, obviously it gets some coverage. I don't think it really got much coverage on CNN or MSNBC in the same way though, or any real way. But we just kind of assume that like, oh yeah, well that's Fox. That's just how they operate. Even though it is again and again, we're finding these private messages when they get disclosed underscore that this is not really at its heart a news network. That's not how news organizations behave. It's really how like an entertainment or propaganda machine behaves. Like if we go all in on this, our ratings will go up. Yeah, but like that's not true. So why are you even entertaining that thought? And I thought what was interesting here too was the tension behind the scenes, like what this captured. Because if you remember, at this point in time, Fox's ratings have tanked. Rupert Murdoch is talking behind the scenes about how they're getting creamed by CNN in the wake of the 2020 election because the Fox viewers are pissed. They're tuning out. Donald Trump is saying tune out of Fox News because they called the election for Joe Biden. And so they're panicking. They're rattled behind the scenes. And there's this enormous tension where the hosts want to go all in on whatever's going to get them ratings. But the executives are trying to some extent not to do that, but they also don't want to piss off Donald Trump. And it's this incredible tension. And you have someone like Bret Baier saying, I think he said what Maria Bartiromo is airing is just crap. It's not, we haven't been able to verify any of this stuff. It's just not true. And then you have Jesse Waters saying, oh, we should go all in on Stop the Steal. And then you have Jeanine Pirro, who is, she writes in one message to Sean Hannity. I guess she wanted to go all in on the rigged election narrative, saying in all caps, I'm tired of the censorship and I'm embarrassed by how they called this election. And so it's like Rupert's roster of right-wing personalities, a lot of them, I think, believe that the election was stolen. They believe the bogus narrative. And then the others, I think, who are a little more smart and savvy, like maybe Jesse Waters, probably doesn't believe it, but understands if we say this, our ratings will go up. And that's sort of how Fox News operates on a day-to-day basis. They know what gets the audience going, and they throw that red meat out there every day.
Yeah. I mean, we saw a lot of this in similar fashion during the Dominion case as well, when more of the messages came out. And we saw from behind the scenes, Tucker Carlson straight up saying that he hated Donald Trump. And so some of these hosts were acutely aware of what he had done and what his conspiracy theories had done to the party base and what it meant for the future of it, and how, he had basically created a belief system that was based on, a false foundation of lies about who won the election. And so it is fascinating, though, 5 years later, to look back at these messages from the 2020 election and see what was going on there. This case is still moving through the courts, though, and it is a big one. It's an important one. The other case with Dominion on very similar grounds was settled for this record amount of $787 million. Smartmatic, this case is headed toward jury trial, and at this point shows no signs of being settled. But what do you think happens here? Do you think Fox is going to work out a deal here, or do you think that they're going to try their chances in a jury?
I don't know, John. I mean, you were there with me in Wilmington when we were waiting for the Dominion trial to start, and it almost started. Remember, but we were waiting. We had come back, I think, from lunch, and that was when the jury trial was about to begin. The
jury was even seated, and
no one even seated.
No one came in.
And then it got delayed, and then we got word of the ultimate settlement. So who knows how far this is going to go? I assume it's there. I mean, Fox has indicated repeatedly, Lachlan Murdoch, that they see the Smartmatic case differently. and that they think they have a good hand to win. And obviously, Smartmatic too has been imperiled by some charges of that they engage in unethical behavior. They're under investigation, I believe, right, by the feds. And so, it's a messy situation. But at the end of the day, I imagine it's in Rupert's best interest to settle this lawsuit. Wouldn't you say? I mean, I can't imagine a scenario where you want Sean Hannity, Susan Scott, Rupert Murdoch, Lachlan Murdoch, any of these people on the stand. If you're Fox News, that'd be very bad. And so hard to imagine they don't settle. But who knows how much Smartmatic wants? Maybe they want a bigger sum than Dominion. Who knows?
My hunch is that they're going to settle it. And it's purely a hunch. We saw this last week as well. Newsmax, which is Fox's right-wing competitor on cable, which at the time of the 2020 election was bringing a lot of heat and was generating quite a bit of an audience from, the, let's say, Fox nomads who were pissed off that they were watching on Fox that Donald Trump was losing the election and had lost the election. And so Newsmax was feeding them much more of what they wanted to hear, which was that, like, Donald Trump was the victim of this, conspiracy behind the scenes. But Newsmax this week also settled its lawsuit with Dominion. Again, there's these two election companies that sued for $67 million. That's obviously not as large as what Fox paid out, but also Newsmax is tiny. I mean, it is like a very, very small operation. For a moment, I didn't think it was going to survive at all a few years ago. But that to me suggests that Fox watching this, looking at this suit, even though the lawyers are all in, you're all in until the very last moment when a deal is reached. When Rupert comes to the table or Lachlan comes to the table and is like, all right, what is it really going to take here? And I suspect we might get to a place where right before the jury comes into the room again, that they might work out a deal. And Smartmatic also might want to say, $2.7 billion is a lot of money, of course, but you kind of throw out these very large numbers and might be quite happy with a smaller settlement.
I assume if they settle, it's going to have to be a smaller settlement. But what's really interesting, John, is that all these media companies are paying these large sums of money for spreading the election lies. And the one person who was responsible for all of this, Donald Trump, has paid how much? I believe $0.00.
Yeah, that's true. He skates on all this stuff. I mean, he was deplatformed everywhere on social media following the insurrection on January 6th, but he's obviously back everywhere and hasn't paid a single price, while his big megaphone boosters are the ones who continue to pay.
Yeah,
Fox News, Newsmax, OAN.
He makes Rupert Murdoch pay $787 million to Dominion for carrying his election water, or his conspiratorial water, and then has the nerve to repeatedly attack Rupert Murdoch and to sue the Wall Street Journal and to go out. I mean, it's remarkable, and that yet they still continue carrying his water. Thank you for watching Power Lines. For more analysis and insight, subscribe to our YouTube channel down below, like this video, and you can watch more of us right over here.